and welcome to the 33rd edition of the Broadcast India show here at the Geo Convention Center in Maximum City, Mumbai. This is the one stop shop under one roof on one single platform where we see cutting edge technology, all the emerging trends, and all the latest related to the content industry, to the broadcast, the cable and satellite industry. And what better place than Mumbai to be witnessing all of this technology in front of us, including conversations very insightful with industry leaders and experts. Today, I am joined by a very interesting personality, and I'm especially more interested in learning things from her because she is Aishwarya Sridhar, a wildlife filmmaker and a photographer, but also the founder of Bambi Studios, which is a full production service house. We'll talk more about that, but I just want to first begin by congratulating you on all the things that you've done in your career so far as a wildlife filmmaker and a photographer with your production house and your association with the broadcast show. I think this is your first time. So, your first thoughts on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonakshi, for having me here. This is actually my second time at the broadcast show. So, first time also last year was my first, and it's always like I feel it. I'm like a kid in the Disneyland when it comes to broadcast show. There's so much the latest technology, cameras, gear, lights, sound, post production services. So, in terms of just looking and understanding what's available in the market,
Right.
I would say it's the one stop shop for
Right.
for everything
It
that's
sure
going on.
it surely is. Let's kickstart then. Sure, to get to know you a little bit more. What really inspired you to take up wildlife photography and filmmaking?
I would say my childhood. My so I grew up in a place called Pandel, which is a very green, sort of a like a it's right next to Mathiran, which is a hill station, and on the outskirts of Mumbai. So in my childhood itself, I was acquainted with all kinds of wildlife in my own backyard. And my daddy is a big nature lover. He's a very big nature freak. So of course that genes rubbed off. And yeah, then became like I used to accompany him on his wildlife adventures. So the wildlife bug bit me, and I was very interested in understanding more about wildlife and nature. And slowly, I also started seeing the landscape around me transform. So from being a birder's paradise, it started becoming a concrete nightmare. And that kind of motivated me to pick up the camera to tell stories of the wild. So that's how I transitioned from being just a wildlife lover to being a wildlife photographer.
Right. And just in case our viewers and our audience are wondering why are we standing in front of Canon, which of course is exciting in itself, it's also because Aishwarya is a Canon influencer. She uses the Canon gears and the Canon camera to shoot and indulge in her storytelling through the camera or lens of Canon. So I would then ask you, how is it over the years that your storytelling has shaped, has evolved with time, especially when it comes to wildlife filmmaking and photography? It's a very niche area of capturing and storytelling.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very niche area, in fact. And so initially, I was interested in just capturing the beauty of our planet to bring people into wildlife, make them fall in love with nature and what our planet, in terms of the incredible biodiversity that our planet boasts of. And slowly now I've started moving towards impact documentaries, creating content that makes people not just fall in love with wildlife,
Right.
but also think about what can they do to protect our planet. And it's not just doom and gloom stories, not just telling people that, oh, this is the problem and what can we do about it with this. We're going through an environmental crisis, yes. We're going through the sixth mass extinction, yes. There is global warming, yes. Climate change, yes. But stories that also focus on solutions, on what can we as citizens, corporates, what can corporates do, what can world leaders do. So my documentaries not just look at the beauty of the planet, but they also are focused on solution driven storytelling as to what the common public as well as people from all sectors can work together on how can they protect the natural world.
Right. I'm also very curious to know, and I think as would our audience, what does your kit look like? your camera lens, your camera, your gear, the Canon kit, really? What does it look like?
It's a very heavy kit.
I wish you could show us, but I can only imagine how heavy would it be for a wildlife filmmaker. So why don't you tell us what does it include?
It is heavy. In fact, some of my kit is on display in the Canon booth. So yeah, I have a C300 Mark III. So it depends. Basically, my kit it's very I would say flexible with regards to what I'm shooting. So if suppose the subject is big cats, for instance, which I shoot a lot of them for my documentaries. So it's like a C300 Mark III or a mounted on a tripod, long lenses, okay, and a wide angle, like a mixture of many lenses and good full frame 4K cameras. And when it comes to documentaries which require a run and gun style, then it's a very compact, small form factor cameras, like I would say the Canon R5C. I absolutely love the EOS R5C. That's been like my go-to kit in my recent production. So yeah, that I have an array of lenses. So right from long lenses in terms of prime of lenses like 600 mm and 100-400 telephoto zoom lenses to a mixture of wide angle and macro, because wildlife is not just, we need to capture different focal lengths. So all of them are in my kit. It's a very heavy.
Do you have a favorite lens or a favorite camera, or is it hard to pick?
It's very hard to pick.
But I'm sure you have a soft spot for
The R5C, definitely the R5C, because I would say it's the best hybrid camera that's come to me. I can shoot 8K raw videos, which are broadcast quality. It's Netflix approved as well, so I really don't have to worry about the quality for broadcast. In terms of video, it's 4K. It's got a 120 FPS as well for slow motion shots, which is incredible. And at the same time, I also have a 45 megapixel camera in it, like for photos. So for me, as someone who dabbles in both photos and videos, the R5C I would say is like the best option that I have.
So, photographers, inspiring photographers, amateur photographers, or filmmakers, you know what's Aishwarya's favorite. Maybe it'll be yours too. I want to ask you what's in the pipeline for Aishwarya and some of the projects that you're talking about, or if you can talk about.
So I have a couple of projects that I'm working on. One is a documentary that's been funded by the National Geographic Society. It's called Fading Star, and it highlights the rampant illegal trade of the Indian star tortoise. So, as a storyteller, my team and I have followed the trade pipeline from my home city in Mumbai to the forests in South India and right into the black markets of Bangkok in Thailand. So we have gone undercover, we have risked our lives to ensure that this story comes out to the public
Right.
and there is an end to this rampant trade of this very beautiful species of tortoise, but which definitely needs to be stopped.
In fact, that was going to be my next question as I was peeping into my notes. What could you tell us a little bit more about Indian star tortoise?
So it's the world's most traded tortoise because it is one of the most beautiful specimens of tortoises in the world. It's got a black and yellow star-shaped markings on its carapace, and it's a sought after pet. So not many people know this, but myths and superstitions have driven this animal to near extinction. So this reptile is basically picked from the forests of South India. They're collected and they are then pushed into the trade pipeline as an exotic pet and taken and sold in local markets, local pet markets, and also exported abroad. They're smuggled abroad as well. So as per Indian laws, it is completely prohibited to sell this particular reptile. But illegal wildlife trade has thrived over the years. This particular reptile is also believed to be a harbinger of wealth and prosperity because it's related to the Kurma avatar of Lord Vishnu. And I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube. That's how I came to know about this story. In fact, during the lockdown, I was browsing through YouTube and I came across a couple of videos where people were having these Indian star tortoises as pets. And that raised a question in my mind as to how come a wild animal is someone's pet. So I dug deeper on Google, and Google Baba opened up a plethora of information, and I saw that they were actually being sold in websites called like Tortoise Marts, okay? And that was bizarre for me because it's a wild reptile. And being sold in on a website with a price tag attached to it was too much to digest. So I knew the story had something deeper and I began to investigate. So that sparked off the investigation, which then unfolded into a 1 hour documentary.
So, what then do you hope to achieve with this documentary? What kind of impact do you hope that you will achieve?
I hope to achieve an impact on several different levels. My first aim is to galvanize trans-border, multi-sector support, in fact, to protect the Indian star tortoise. So, by holding screenings at not just the government level, but also at the local level. So, a lot of consumers who end up buying these exotic pets are urban consumers, children, and the elite who kind of look at these animals as a status symbol. So my first and foremost thing is to educate them to not kind of bring these animals into their house, because it's not just bad in terms of the health of the animal, but it's also somewhere impacting the pet owner's health to have a wild reptile, because these animals are not meant to be kept in your garden or in your living room. They are meant to be roaming freely out in the wild. So, in terms of screenings in schools, colleges, in various institutions, screening for at the airport, because that's the place where the custom authorities kind of apprehend these criminals who are smuggling. So, it's very important that they have knowledge as to what kind of species are being trafficked. So, accordingly, then they will be able to counter wildlife trafficking. And the counter mechanism is quite in place, but it can be more strengthened. And of course, now the star tortoise has been bumped up. Its protection has gone up to the highest level. It's as protected as a tiger, in fact, right now. It's in Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act due to the recent amendments, which is great. Otherwise, earlier, my first and foremost aim was to bump up the protection through the documentary. So now that it's already in place, but still the illegal trade has continued. There are still seizures happening. Even after I finished the documentary, the other day I was just going through to see the list of seizures that are now taking place, and I'm really surprised the numbers have actually increased. So very recently, the Tamil Nadu Department and the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau in South, they kind of have caught about 700 odd star tortoises being shipped to Southeast Asia. So it's very clear that the trade still exists. So my documentary, I really hope, can open people's eyes at different levels to ensure that this species gets the protection that it deserves. Because normally you don't think of, when we talk about wildlife trade, from eons, the focus has always been on megafauna species: elephants, rhinos, tigers, species that are very charismatic, no doubt. They are ambassadors of our ecosystem. But lesser known species are also equally suffering. So it's time we also spotlight what they are going through and take appropriate measures to ensure that their survival also happens.
Well, that has given us a very detailed insight into your documentary, your passion for it, and clearly you want your documentary to be impactful, yes, more than just one way.
Yeah.
And we truly hope that it does make
Thank
that.
you so much, Sanakshi.
Last couple of questions before we conclude this interview. Uh, how and when did your association and your relation with Canon start, and how has it been so far? If you can take us through that journey, maybe it'll also inspire future filmmakers and photographers as well.
My association with Canon, I think, began with my first DSLR camera. Okay, and that was about when I was 12 years old. So from that time, now when I'm 27, it's been a wonderful journey with Canon. And east or west, for me, Canon's the best. It's given me um, it's helped me really pick and tell my stories. It's given me the wings to actually capture my story in the best possible way. And Yeah, for me, the association with Canon has been beautiful, and it's truly an honor for me to be on part of their panel as an EOS influencer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really cherish my journey with Canon.
All right. Okay. That really was something that, I think this conversation is not just about maybe the lens that you use or the camera that you use, but clearly your passion and how passionate you are about your passions. So that's really nice. My concluding question to you would be, what are some of the emerging trends that you see in the within the industry, and of course, the trends and the technological innovations that, in your assessment, will shape the future of content, wildlife photography, and filmmaking.
I'm really excited to see how AI shapes the future of storytelling, especially with regards to filmmaking. AI is being, adapted by Adobe into their softwares for post production, be it photos or videos. I'm really excited to see how camera manufacturers, especially Canon, if they have any plans to integrate AI into their lenses, into their cameras, into the software, basically, to see how that can evolve storytelling in the future.
Okay.
That's something I'm really excited about.
And my last question to you would be that a platform like Broadcast India Show, how important, how relevant it is to photographers, filmmakers, industry leaders like you to come be part of this and see what is on display and speak your mind. How important do you think a platform like this is significant to someone like you?
I feel it's extremely important. One, as a storyteller from India, we get to see the plethora of technology that exists worldwide and in just one place, like Broadcast India. And that kind of the show brings together manufacturers of not just cameras, lenses, lights, sound, post production services. So, for someone who's just starting out in this industry with a production company, I'm able to access all of these companies in just one platform. So for me, that's like a boon. So I'm really glad that we're having the Broadcast India show that too in Mumbai.
Right. Yeah. Well, no better place that I can think of.
Yeah,
Maximum
maximum city.
maximum city with maximum possibilities, dreams, city of dreams, as they say. But it's always very nice to meet personalities like you, all of 27, and I feel like you have so many passions, so many dream projects. I'm sure your passion for wildlife photography and wildlife filmmaking clearly has inspired a little bit in me as well to pick up the camera all over again. I also use a Canon camera.
Oh,
By the way.
wonderful.
Yes, which one? But a very old one. It was my birthday present from when I was 16 years old. I started off with a 550D. But wait, that was good like 12, 15 years back.
Oh, that's
Clearly it's a time for upgrade. Are you listening, Canon? I'm sure we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was really lovely chatting with.
Same here. Lovely talking.
Stay tuned to more interviews and more conversations on the Nuremberg Message channel.